All right, good morning, everybody. Let's just take a couple minutes to just make sure we're all prepped and ready. I'm just gonna move this camera a little bit so we can see a little bit more workspace. Looks like we have a couple people joining us already. Hello. Oh, of course. Okay. So go ahead and say hello if you're here. It's always fun to see who's joining me live. Let me pull up everything. Okay. All right. Looks like it's up and going. All right. Hi, Sue and April. Good morning to you guys. So glad to see you here. So we are going to be creating 2 of the 6 cards that I shared for one of the artisan showcases. Let me grab the 2 cards. I think it's these 2. I should double check that these are the ones we're working on. So what I am going to do is I'm actually going to make the cards with the patterns, but I already have that paper cut out, if I can find it. Oh, yep. And so I wanted to also cut some other pattern paper. So I'm going to make another set of cards using this pretty paper from the art gallery suite. I'm trying to remember what this paper is called. Let me look it up really quick. This one is called the Fine Art Floral Designer Series paper. So I'm going to do another set of cards using this paper, but I'm going to cut this one, but then we're going to make these. And I hope that's not too confusing for you, but I do want to walk you through how to cut it as well. So that's kind of what we'll be doing there. Okay. Sorry, I'm just double checking that these are the cards that we're working on. Oh, yep, I was right. Okay, so we've got card number 2, and this one here, I'm not sure why that stuck to that, is card number, looks like we have a couple pieces stuck. And this one is not the right one. What is going on? So we have card number 1, which has got this horizontal strip. And then we have card number 2, which has the center focal area. Okay, so we'll be making those 2 cards today. All right. So the video is freezing. Joanne just said, let me double check that I am on our Wi-Fi, which I am, and I'm going to put on Do Not Disturb. It looks like it's okay for me right now, Joanne. Hopefully it will clear up for you. If by chance things freeze up, I do recommend just refreshing, and that should come back for you. Good morning, Joanne and Kelly and Linda and Melanie and Margie and Catherine. Catherine asks, will you be saving this? So she's at work and she's not able to actually craft along with us. And yes, this will be saved here in the group, so that you can replay and watch it, as well as I'm moving it to my YouTube channel. So you may be watching this on YouTube as well, and you can find it there. Looks like we have lots of people joining us. Hi, Yvonne and Darlene and Sally and Janine and Pam. Okay, well, it's 10 o'clock, so let's go ahead and get started. hopefully you have printed out the template, and these are all cut lines, but I wanted to show you that you're going to cut your paper into 3 sections that are 4 inches. So this is 12 inches across here. So 4 inches, 4 inches, 4 inches. And then you'll take and cut to 5 1/4, and you can see that they're all about the exact same. And then this one down here is bigger. And so here's another 5 1/4, but this one is cut differently. So we're going to start by cutting 4-inch strip, and then we're going to leave these other pieces for our next. Well, I guess we need to cut this one for card number 2. So we'll just cut 2 times at 4 inches to create those 3 strips, and then we'll cut what we need and keep everything else together without cutting it, so that we don't have too many pieces that we lose. So it might be a good thing for you to have like a clear bag or a Ziploc baggie that you can put all those other pieces in, and we can find them again next Saturday when we come back and make cards number 3 and 4. So the other thing that is important to note is that if your pattern has a direction, you're going to want to make sure that that direction is up, right? So if you, let's see that you have words, you want to be able to read your words so that they're cut, so that it's cut and is the right direction. I hope that makes sense. So like this is up here. So when we cut first, we're going to want to keep our paper the correct direction. So the paper I'm using doesn't really have a direction to it. This one back here, it does feel to me like this is more of the correct direction than this way. This one looks upside down to me. So I'm going to make sure that this is the top, is going to be up at the top of my cutting paper. And the 2 patterns that I want to use, I do like both patterns and how they work together. And that's another thing you're going to want, is 2 designer series papers that work together. And I like how both of these patterns, so the front and back, kind of work. And so the other thing I wanted to mention is that this shows just 6 cards, but you will be actually able to make 12. So you're going to make 2 of card number 1 and 2 of card number 2, but your patterns will just be opposite. So this one for card number 1, for example, this was my first version, and I've got the gray pattern in the background and then the blue as my strip. But for my second card, the one I'll make today, it's actually going to be in reverse. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. Hopefully that was all clear and made sense to you. So I'm just going to double check. Yep, this is the right way. Just kind of looking to see. This one I feel like has a little bit of direction as well because those flowers. So I feel like this is the right way as well. So the tops are all at the top of my paper trimmer. So we can cut these 2 pieces together. So we're just going to go ahead and start with that 4-inch cut. And then we'll slide it down and we'll do a second cut at 4 inches. So we have our 3 strips at 4 inches. It does look like we need to remove a 1/2 inch strip down here on the 3rd piece. So I'm just going to rotate and cut at 1.5 inches. And just remember that if you are watching this live, and I may be going too fast for you, you do have your template. So you should be able to follow what is necessary, like the information here as well. But if you're watching the replay, you can always pause and do each step on your own time, okay? So that was strip number 3, and we're not cutting anymore. So we have card 3 and card 6, and so we removed just card number 1 down here at the bottom. So now we have strip number 2, and we're going to cut it at, I'm just going to cut it at 4 or 5 1/4, and there's just going to be this little strip that I need to remove. So let's start there at 5 1/4. And then this bottom piece I'm going to save. So I'm placing that with my other strip. And then I'm going to cut this to 2 inches by 9/16. So that seems a little bit crazy, but what you're doing is you're really just finding your 2.5 inch mark, and that would be 2 8/16, and then you just move it up just to the next 16th, and that will be your 9/16, okay? And cut right there, and then you'll cut that again. So go to 2.5, which is 8/16, and then move it just 1/16, and you can see you have this tiny little piece here that we've trimmed off. So that is for number 2. So make sure you keep your card pieces separate. So we have card number 2 on the right, and I've got card number 1 on the left. And now we're on to our first strip, which is right here where it says card number 1, and I'm going to cut at 5 1/4 inches. So rotate to 5 1/4, and those are all for card number 1. And then we have card number 4 is going to be this strip here. So we're just going to skip that, and we're coming down to card number 2, and it's 3 inches by 4 1/8. So we're going to first cut the 4 1/8, which will give us our height, and then we'll trim off this piece here. That will be a 1 inch piece, okay? So 4 1/8 is what we're looking for. And you can trim it from the bottom or from the top. You're still going to have that section for card number 4, so that doesn't really matter. So we've got 4 inches here, move it up 1/8 and trim it. So this is going to be for card number 4, so go ahead and put that in with your other pieces. And then rotate this, and now we're going to cut it at 3 inches. Now this piece here is extra, and so you could add this to the inside of your card if you wanted, or you can create a bonus card using those extra pieces. But I'm just going to place them with my other pieces that I'm not using today. And this is my card number 2, so I'm going to add that to that piece there. Okay. So Melanie says, wouldn't it be easier to cut them all 4 by 6 and then cut from there? Not really, because if you were to cut 4 by 6, then you're going to be missing out on some of these 1 inch pieces that are down here. So you could start them, well, like some pieces here. So if you cut 4 by 6, you're kind of cutting into your second set. So it's easier to cut them into 4 inch strips and then follow that strip direction down. Okay, so let's see. Melanie says, I started out cutting in half, therefore really hard to follow along when I started out on the wrong foot. So she started cutting, I guess she started cut at this line. Yeah, so I would cut them in 4 inch strips first. Sorry about that, Melanie. Just if you cut them in half, then just go back and cut into that 4 inches in the half. And then you may have to figure out some other things for some of these other pieces, but okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so that cutting part is done. What we need to do next is cut our card bases. So for that, you're going to want to have a coordinating color. And I wanted to use this Smoky Slate because it coordinates really well with this pattern here. And so that's what I've got. And you're going to just need, if you're going to make all of your cards, so both sets of card 1 and card 2, you'll need 4 card bases. I'm just going to go ahead and do 2 card bases. So I'm going to start with my scoring, and I actually prefer to score on the scoreboard. So I have my Simply Scored tool here, and I'm just putting it up in the top left corner, and I'm going to score at 4 1/4. So this is the 8.5 inches and 4 1/4 all the way down. It's a big clunky tool, but I like to use it for card bases. I think it just gives me a nice straight score line. And then I'm going to rotate it. So now you can see I've got my 11 inches at the top, and I'm going to bring it over to 5 1/2 and cut. And that's going to be my 2 card bases for this card, or these cards. Okay, so I think the best thing to do would be to put some of our pieces onto our card. Oh, I have totally 2 different patterns here. So these 2 must be the front and back pattern, and that's what I must have preferred. Yep, you can see that that's the same front and back. So you could also do that. I guess there is that choice that if you like the front and back of one of your pieces, so like this piece here, you could just do 1 sheet of designer series paper and get some of these cards. However, like this one here does use 3 different patterns. And so you would have, if you chose to do that, you would have 2 of these patterns would be the same, but you would have all the pieces to do that. I'll take it out of the envelope so you can see. So do you see that, how there's 3 different patterns? And if you were only to use 1 sheet, then 2 of these patterns would be the exact same. Okay, so we're just gonna use this pattern here. So I can choose between my polka dots or my florals. And I think I wanna go with the florals. That's really pretty as that background piece. And then I'll do the polka dots in the middle. Now to just add a little bit of bling, I have added a piece of silver foil sheet back there. Can you see it? And so that, let me just measure that really quick with my ruler. Hold on. So this is measuring at 1 5/8. So it's just a really small strip. So if you have some silver foil sheet, or if you have anything that's going to coordinate with your papers. So for example, if I was doing this one, I maybe would use, I could even just use a solid piece of cardstock here, like maybe some rich razzleberry or something to kind of pop that other piece off or up. Here is my paper trimmer. So for this, I'm going to just cut it first at 1 5/8. Because this is 1 1/2, right? Yeah. You know what? I'm going to go a little bigger. Well, no, 5/8 is fine. It'll just give me a 1/16 of an inch on both sides. So 1 5/8, and then we're going to rotate and cut at 4 inches. So this is just slightly, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to cut that well. Okay, so it was just slightly big. So I'm just going to kind of fold all those little pieces underneath. So that's going to sit just right there over that centerpiece, and you're just going to have a tiny little strip of silver, or of, I could do basic white, or I could do like a darker gray on there as well. So lots of options for that little piece. So let's add this to our card. And then this piece is just added right to our card base. So if you have any questions as I'm working, please feel free to ask, even if you're watching the replay. I do try to keep my eye on any comments that pop up, and so I'll try to make sure to answer those for you in a timely manner. So that just goes right there in the center. And then this will go just a little lower than center. Okay, so that would be center, so maybe about 1 inch or so from the bottom. So this template really is just giving you some ideas on some basic layouts. I'm going to use my grid paper to make sure that's nice and straight. So this is just, after we place these pieces down, you really can decorate them with your coordinating stamps or dies any way you want. Okay, so there is just your first layout on how to, do you see how that kind of matches there? And now let's go ahead and move to number 2. Okay. So these are my 2 pieces. So I could go with the same here. I could do that gray pattern on the back, and then I could go with my blue. Do you see I have washi tape there? This was an accident and I accidentally cut mine. So what I did is I just put my pattern back together and stuck some washi tape, and then I'll place that on my card and cover it up and no one will know. So those kinds of things happen, and that's how I kind of fix it. So anyway, I could put the blue, but because I've added my washi tape there, I think I'm going to switch it up. And I'll put my polka dots on the front, and then I'll do the blue patterns on the back. So it will look something like this. So that's, I think this one is a little darker, so it's going to be a little heavier visually. So I'll put that on the bottom of my card. So there should be a little, the reason we had to cut off that little piece at the bottom was so that we have a gap here in between the 2 pieces. And so you'll want to make sure that it's even all the way around your card. So we're kind of looking for a nice even border around and between those pieces when we add those. And then this does get popped up with some dimensionals. So I have the little minis here. I am going to place them over that seam as well, just to make sure it supports that seam. Melanie says she loves my fix. Well, you're welcome. Those things happen to everybody. And if you can cover it up, then why not use those papers, right? Don't throw them away. Don't cut another piece. Just make it work. So that's going to go right there in the center between everything. It's nice and even border around your card, and then we'll decorate that center there. Okay, so those are the 2 layouts for card number 1 and card number 2. And just as a quick tip, you can see here that you're going to create 2 cards, right? So for these cards, I might do something like this, or opposite, depending on, you know, the stamps I want to use and if it's too busy with that pattern in the background. So that might work for me. I like a little not quite so busy as the large pattern, and then I can decorate and add some fun things with that. Or I can just keep it simple and put a greeting. Like these cards are cute, even just the layouts are cute. So you don't have to put too many elements on there to really make a great card. Okay, so now you're going to take some coordinating colors, and these particular papers don't have a lot of pinks and reds, you know, for flowers. And so what I did is I just took some colors that I thought went really well with the navies and the grays that I could use for florals. And so I've got Bumblebee, Rococo Rose. I'm so sad that color's going to retire. We've got rich Razzleberry, and then for my green I've used shaded Spruce. And you can see that they're all really rich, deep colors to stand out with those dark colors from that particular paper. Now, if I was using some of the other papers that are in this pack, my colors may change because there's other colors like reds and blacks and things, and so I might switch up those colors to get a good palette that works with those, okay? All right, so bringing in my original designs, and I do have some pieces that are already kind of cut. So what do I have here? Cherished Friend. So I did already cut out a banner and did that one, and then I have Wildly Grateful, which I don't have, but I do have a blank one. So I will show you how I got that text on there. There's a little trick to that. Whenever I create cards, there's little experiments like this one that sometimes I don't use, and I always will keep them in a little clear envelope. And then I place that clear envelope inside my stamps case. And so then if I come back and want to make more of those cards or play around with that stamp set again, I have some of these pieces already cut and ready to use. So that's one little tip that I like to do as well. So you can see some more of my little experiments and stuff. So I do have some pieces here that are ready to put on my card. So let's start with this first one. So let's see, I need a couple leaves. So I've got one there, one here. You'll see that I did two, what is that called? Second generation, not second generation, stamp on, stamp off technique. And I'll show you that because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have to stamp some more images. Let's see what else. So I did do some of these stamps. So some of the same image I stamped in different colors. So you can see this one's the rich Razzleberry, and then we've got the Bumblebee and the Rococo Rose. So sometimes I'll just do lots of stamping and cut them all out at one time, and then I can arrange them the way I like them. Okay, let's see, do I have one more berry? I don't have a berry, that's okay. I also did some cutting with the silver foil sheets just to kind of pull in some of those pretty elements. And so if you're using dies that have some little elements like that, you could do that as well to add that to your card. So just some ideas on how to put cards together when you're just kind of playing and experimenting with things is just to stamp and cut a whole bunch of the images from that stamp set in different colors, and then you just kind of arrange things as they look good to you and kind of tuck little pieces in here and there. So it does look like I need another little blue berry, and then if I was to do this card exactly, I'll need to have a large blue flower. I do have these two little flowers that I can use here. I've got some silver elements. They're not exactly the same, but they still would work. So I might just pop those in there. Oh, I have this one. So that one could be the same. I do have one more leaf. So it looks like I need two more leaves. So I need a blue, two leaves, and a greeting for that one. So what I'm going to do is just grab some scratch paper in basic white, and I'll just start stamping those. So let's start with the leaves because I need a couple of those. Becky, thank you so much for sharing the video. I appreciate that. It's really fun to get lots of new people in the group and looking at the videos, so thanks. So the fun thing about this stamp set, which is the Always in My Heart, is that it has both the line image, and so you could use those line images all by themselves, but then it also has the solid image, which is the one I stamped off and then stamped on. So let's start with that. And I do like to place my images that match on the same block. So I've got one on one side, and then I rotate and I'll put the other on the other side. And let's start with the shaded Spruce. What did I do with that white paper? Whoop, now I'm losing other pieces. Kind of flinging everything around. It literally was right here, wasn't it? All right, I'll just grab another one. Okay. So we're going to ink up the lined image. Actually, you know what? Now that I remember, I think I could line things up better if I started with the solid one first. So I'm going to ink up my solid one so it's nice and inked, and then I'm stamping off, and then I'll stamp on. Oh, I got a little thing there. And then you're just going to ink up your line, and if I remember correctly, it was a little easier to line it up that way, but now it's feeling more difficult. So it doesn't need to be perfect. You can see I've got it off just slightly there. Let's try it the other way. So I've got my lined image, and then stamp off, and then, yeah, definitely easier this way. Maybe it was a different stamp set that I did, that I was the opposite. All right, so I needed 3 of these, or just 2. I'm just gonna go ahead and do a couple, because I know I'll need them for some other cards as well. So don't forget to stamp off, and then line it up and stamp on. Okay, so that should be enough for what I need today. Let's go to another one. Let's do the little berry. So another thing I like about this stamp set is it does really lend to like love and Valentine's Day, but I wanted to show that it could be a lot more than that, that these images could be used for so many different occasions. And so when you pair it with maybe a stamp set that has different greetings, like the Lovely You stamp set, which is what we're using for our greetings, that it really can be any type of card. And I love these floral images and the lines and the insides, and it's just a really fun one. Okay, what did we do? Lined image first. So I just need a couple of these, but I might stamp multiples just to have them for future cards. And then stamp off, and then line it up, stamp on. When you do this, make sure you do leave enough room for your die cuts so that you're not so close that one die cut will cut into the other. Oh, what am I doing? Let's do one more. And this is a really fun pattern that you could even just do by itself. It's really pretty. Okay, so we've done a couple of those. I don't need any yellow, and I don't need, oh, I needed the blue flower. Let's go back to that blue ink and pull up the flower. How many of you are making these exact cards? And how many of you are coming up with your own cards? I kind of would be interested to know like what your plan is. So we've got the lines and the solid. So this one's in blue. So okay. I'm only going to do one of those. I'm not sure how many more flowers I need. All right, so I've got my leaves, my flower, the extra blue. I think that's everything I needed for that card. So I'm also going to use the die cuts that coordinate. So we've got a couple dies. I like it when they give us multiple dies of the same image, because then we can cut all those out at one time. And then you can see here the dies I used to cut out those. I might just do another one and we'll just use the ones. And then back here is this really pretty large die cut with the heart, and I love that one too. It's really pretty. So I'm going to grab some washi tape so to hold everything in place. Just give me a minute. Let's see. Just going to look at the comments really quickly. We'll say, let's see, Lori's making the exact set, and she may do a second set in something else. Well, that will be fun. So if you're going to do, I'd love to see your projects. So it's so fun to see how you guys make your cards. So please share your cards when you're done. Tammy's going to try it with a different stamp set. Pam is making these cards, but is going to do it on a replay. Laura says, I'm using my Hindu. I would love to see that, Laura. I'm using something different, is what Margie says. And Laura, oh, Laura's using her honeybee set. Okay, that's right. I remember seeing your post. That will be really fun. I'd love to see that. Sue's going to make exactly what I did, and then she'll make maybe some other cards with different DSPs. Yvonne's using something different, and so is Melanie. So fun. I'd love to see those cards. Please, please share them with me. All right, so now we're just going to line everything up and use a little washi tape to hold it in place. Oops. When I place the washi tape down, I try to just keep it on the outside edge so that it doesn't accidentally stick to my stamped image and tear my paper. And then I think I'm going to find a piece of silver foil sheet. I've got lots of little pieces that I hold on to, but this one might fit here. Yep, a little piece. So I'm just going to squeeze that in there and cut another one of those. So I'm going to take this to my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and then I'll be right back. Cheryl says that she's going to be making some cards on the replay. Yay! I would love to see. It's just really fun to see what people do with ideas and how they're inspired. And I love to see everyone's different tastes. You know, like everyone has a different things that appeal to them. So it's fun to see that too. Okay, so all those pieces, and I think I got everything I needed. Just going to push those over to the side. Try to keep everything in one place. I have all these little extra pieces here too. So, okay, that piece needs to be tacked down a little bit better. Okay, I'm going to get a little liquid glue and add that piece. This was the original card piece, but I guess I didn't do a good job with adhering that. So put that down. Okay, more pieces. So let's move on to stamping the greeting. So I already had the one stamped, the cherished friend. So I've cut, this banner is part of the, I think it's part of this set here. Let me double check. Yeah. So this is a cute little banner piece that comes in the same, it's the floral hearts dies that are bundled with the Always in My Heart stamp set. Okay, so I did cut just a bunch of those and had those on hand, and then stamped the greeting are from the Lovely You stamp set. And I had a little trick on how you can line these up, because these greetings are not made to go on this curved banner. But I do like the way they look. I like how they're straight and the curve. You see how that looks? I like that. So I needed to have it line up, and unfortunately these are not photopolymer, and so I cannot see through them and line them up. So I used my Stamparatus and placed my stamps on that Stamparatus. So I'm going to show you how I did this and lined everything up. So the first thing you need is a window sheet, and this one is about 2.5 inches by 5 inches, okay? And then you're going to need some tape, and this is just masking tape that I have, and you're going to place it anywhere in your Stamparatus. I'm just going to place it here in the center. And you want your hinge on the opposite side of your plate, okay? And so you're going to create a second hinge here. Let me move this down. So what I did is I just placed my greeting. I don't want it too close to this hinge because I need to have this space for this banner, okay? So I'm placing it close to the edge is right here, and then I'm going to pick it up with my plate. And then I'm going to ink it up, and I'm using the Night of Navy, which is just a nice dark coordinating color. And I'm going to ink that up and stamp it on the window sheet. And now I can take the window sheet and lift that up and add my paper. And now I can place it exactly where I need it to be. So there are these little lines here. They're just little like score lines. I'm just going to fold along one so you can see a little bit better. Okay, so those little score lines. For this particular piece, I want to make sure that those score lines are lined up with my grid so that they're kind of nice and straight. So I guess what I'm saying is I want those score lines to be vertical. I don't want it to be tilted like this. That's going to make it look like it's on there straight. So I'm just kind of straightening out those score lines, making sure they don't necessarily have to line up with one of the lines, but they just need to be going vertically. And then I just want to make sure that that Wildly Grateful is in the center between those two score lines. So just take your time making sure everything's lined up, and then you can add a magnet to one side. You don't necessarily need it on the other, but if you wanted to, you can add that as well. Okay. And then by removing your window sheet, you can ink this up and then stamp that down. And there you go.
Mommy?
Hold on, babe, I'm doing a video. Okay. So there we go. And then you can, it's not really super fast, but you could do multiples with that over and over and over. And then when you're ready to switch your greetings, you just add a different greeting. You can wipe that off with your, paper towel or something, and then move on to the next thing. So there is my little tip on how to get your greeting onto a label that it's not necessarily made for. All right, let me help my daughter. Hold on just one second. All right. So we just got some little mini dimensionals. You may also want some glue dots just to kind of add things on. And let's just get started decorating. So we'll start with card number 1. So you're just going to take, if you're working with these labels, you're just going to take and fold against that score line. And I started by folding away, and then you fold towards. There's 2 score lines there. And then using a bone folder just makes a really nice crease. Now you could use any type of label here. You could use a punch. You could use maybe something that comes with the die set that matches your stamp set. You could even just cut a strip and, you know, flag the ends like a banner. That would be really cute too. So then this just goes on to your card. You can add a little adhesive on each end and maybe some dimensional or 2. So we're tucking in the flowers up here at the top. So you want to kind of stay away from adding adhesive right there along the top edge. But you could do dimensional down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to put some glue dots on those little ends there. And then you're just going to place this on the one side. That's a little low. I want to bring it up just a little bit. So place your greeting on the bottom of that middle piece. And then you can tuck in your little extra pieces up here at the top. So I'm going to start with the leaves and place those with glue dots. Then let's do this little pink one here with a dimensional. Just kind of tuck things in. It's easy. So this is much faster than when I was designing the cards, right? I would like put something in and take something out and rearrange constantly. And so because I already know how those items are going to be arranged in the way I like it, it's so much easier to add them now than it was when I was designing the card. So just keep that in mind, that you may not know where you want those things to go right away. So there's a piece out here that I need. So I'm going to place this one with the dimensional as well, and just kind of tuck that up here. And then a little blue. I don't know if these are berries or leaves. And kind of place that up here. I like how there's that little bit of white around them. So even though this is a blue background, that still pops because of the white border. And then we can take another leaf. Kind of tuck that off to the side here. A little bit of a gap there that we need to fill in with another little item. And we'll just tuck this guy in there. Like that. Super cute. And it totally feels different with those backgrounds. You can see how, you know, the different backgrounds and how they change the card just a little bit. So now you're going to take some twine or ribbon, and I've got, here, we'll just undo this. This one feels a little bit big. I probably won't cut. So this is about 14 inches. I think I'm going to cut something that's a little closer to 10 inches and save that big one for another card. So I'm at the end of a couple rolls. So this one's about 8 inches. I think that will be better. I probably would have cut 10 inches would be about what I would look for. But this will work because I want to make sure to use up those little pieces. And so then you're just going to tuck that ribbon. You can either put it on top, which is what I'm going to do with this one because it's a little bit on the smaller side. But if I had one that was a little bigger, maybe 10 or 12 inch piece, I could tuck it up underneath and then let those kind of droop down like that. Just going to trim those so they're about the same size, and then add a glue dot behind my ribbon, bow, and then place that on top of everything right there on the right side. So a little change there. I like how the black and white ribbon kind of adds a little more of that masculine look to the card. But again, you could use any ribbon. You could use some of the white twine. You could even use the pink one, the Blushing Bright, I think is the color, because you kind of got that pink look there. So use what you have. And then the last thing is just a little bit of bling. And so you can't really see these, but they're just a couple opal rounds near the focal point. So take a pick tool and add just a couple. So maybe a couple small ones up here at the top, and then a large one. I think I need some new putty. We'll give that a minute to kind of come out. Nope. We'll put the large one right there on this side of the bow. Okay, so card number 1, I love it. And I'm excited to try making these with some different patterns as well, using a different stamp set. So I will share those in the group as well as I'll take pictures of these and put them in the group. Okay, so that's number 1. And now let's go to number 2. Okay, so Pam, she says, can you mention the dies used for the banners again? So this one comes from the Floral Hearts dies, which is the bundle that coordinates with the Always in My Heart stamp set, which is the one I'm using. Okay, so those two things are bundled together. It's the Floral Hearts dies. And it just comes with one banner piece, and that's the one I'm using. Okay, got everything stuck here. So now let's move on to card number 2. So we've got our Wildly Grateful. I think that's such a cute little greeting, especially when you add floral elements like these ones. Now this stamp set, I was going to mention, does come with floral elements as well. And you could use these, because they're very similar to the ones I used here on my card. So you could use these if you don't have the Always in My Heart stamp set, but you do have this one. I bet that would be really pretty as well. I just wanted to use the Always in My Heart because of these other little elements in the dies. Okay, so we're going to start with this guy. We're going to add it just like we did with the other one. A little bit of dimensionals. Nothing is sticking out or sticking underneath it. Everything is going to be over it for this one, so you can go ahead and add as much adhesive as you need to hold that down. And it's going to go just above the center line. Just kind of make sure it's evenly spaced in the center. And you can see here's my center line, and I've just placed it right above that. And now we're just going to arrange our flowers and our leaves. So I've got my 3 leaves. And I think what I'm going to do is just kind of start. I'm going to double check. Yeah, so look, do you see how there's this big bow back here? Let's add that first because everything kind of sits on top of it. So I'm going to use my bigger piece that is about 14 inches. Find the center and then just create a bow. And we want nice big loops here that kind of come past that middle piece. Okay, I'm going to do that again. It kind of got a little twisted. Okay, so you see how those bows come out, and then I've got nice long tails. So I'm going to add that with the glue dot. And then when I add my other elements, it will kind of hold that bow in place a little bit better. So that just goes right in the center. Okay. Let me check those comments. So now I'm just going to use some dimensionals and add these over that bow. But I do want to keep it, I want to keep it looking like a bow. So I'm having, I want that nice big open loop there so people can see that element. So you may want to actually add a couple dimensionals to these. And then you're just kind of overlapping the floral elements all the way down your card. This leaf was pointing up, kind of going with that banner, and this one's going to kind of point down, make that loop a little bigger. And then we've got one of these rich razzleberry flowers that we'll place on top. And then we're going to cover that one up with a pink flower. And I'm actually going to add this. Let's add this first. So I think I'm going to trim this leaf down a little bit so that it just kind of gets tucked in. We'll just put it right there. I'm going to use a glue dot this time. I'm going to place a couple of them to kind of hold it down around that knot. Now, I could have not made the knot and just done that back and forth, which I've done before on my cards. So that's an option as well. And then we'll just put that down a little lower. So this one's turning out just a little different because of just the positioning of everything. So you can see that that flower's more in front along with that leaf. Okay, and that's going to happen. Every card you make, might be a little different here or there, depending on how those pieces come together. So then I'm going to grab one of these little silver elements and add it with a glue dot. So that glue dot I'm just placing at the bottom, and then I'll just tuck it in here on one side and then at the bottom on the other side. think I'm going to put it more over that leaf so you see it a little bit more. And do the same here. Okay, so just a couple changes here and there. But overall, really pretty and really close to being the same. And then we'll just add a couple of those Opal Rounds. And we'll just do a big one and another big one. And then a small one up here. Okay, so that card's all done too. That was super fun. That took a lot longer than I thought, but it makes sense because we talked a lot about all the different strategies on how to cut the paper, and we talked about some fun tips on when you're designing and creating how you can cut out, you know, extra pieces, and then we did the tip on the stamping. And so I think for the cards 3 and 4, I'll probably do a little more prep work, having all my pieces stamped and cut and ready to go, as well as the greeting stamped on my banner. But I will still cut all the designer series paper along with you so that we have that step done together. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching me create these cards today and that you give this layout a try. And like I said, I'd love to see what you come up with, and just take a quick picture and share it to the Facebook group. Thanks so much for spending an hour of your Saturday with me today. And if you are watching the replay, go ahead and leave a comment. I'd love to know that you watched it. And if you're on YouTube and are not part of the Creative Chelsea Facebook group, there is a link in the description box below, and we'd love to have you join us. So thanks so much for watching. We'll do this again next Saturday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, and we'll make cards 3 and 4. You guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.